Senate Bill 176 by Senator Donahue.
Strawberries.
When you're ready.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members. I have Senate Bill 176. I have with me at the table Mr. Sandy Grimm as General Counsel for Winn, Dixie.
Oh, that 176? Yep, okay, go ahead.
I'm on the right one?
Yep, I was on the right one in front of me, wrong one mentally, so I'm good now.
Okay.
Good.
Last year in this committee, there was I think in a cleanup bill, the exception to Winn-Dixie's operation, which is they have a warehouse in Hammond, Louisiana. Would somebody let Bodie White ask that he be notified? All right. That this warehouse sits in district that is mine, Bodie White's, and he wanted to be present, so I asked him to come over. The district had a large warehouse in there. It's their only distribution warehouse in Louisiana. And in the cleanup bill last year, the exception that allowed Winn-Dixie to distribute alcohol, wine, and spirits from their distribution warehouse in Hammond, Louisiana, was taken away. Winn-Dixie didn't know that was going to be part of the agenda when the amendment was done, and therefore they weren't here to be able to testify about that. The testimony went along the lines of Winn-Dixie was, I don't believe that Winn-Dixie was named, but that the company that had the exception was in bankruptcy. They were in reorganization bankruptcy. The amendment passed, and so as I think in this August, Winn-Dixie loses the ability to be able to distribute alcohol from their warehouse in Hammond, Louisiana, or any other warehouse in Louisiana. So this bill simply restates that language and puts that exception back in law. I have with me Mr. Sandy Grimm from Winn-Dixie, and I think Mr. Grimm would like to have something to say.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Smith.
Introduce yourself for the record if you don't mind, and when you finish,
my apologies.
make sure you fill out a green card, please.
I will do so. Thank you. My name is Sandy Grimm, or Maurice Sandlin Grimm. I am the Chief Legal Officer for Southeastern Grocers and Winn-Dixie Stores Incorporated, here on behalf of Senate Bill 176. I appreciate everybody's time. I've met with several of you in the weeks leading up to this, and have really appreciated the response. The unfortunate reality is we did not have an opportunity to discuss this. This came up very quickly in last year's session while we were technically in bankruptcy. We had actually filed a voluntary action for restructuring with a prepackaged restructuring support agreement. We were in and out in 65 days. All of our vendors were paid at 100%. We went in a good, strong company. We did this voluntarily in order to protect everybody, and came out an even stronger company. I think, unfortunately, with all of the headlines about retail bankruptcies, et cetera, people thought that Winn-Dixie was going away, and it otherwise would be appropriate to clean up the language in the law to eliminate that. However, for us, fortunately, we went in strong, we came out strong. We view Louisiana as a strategic opportunity for us. Not only do we have the distribution center there in Hammond, we actually made the decision to shut down our distribution center in Alabama in favor of the Louisiana distribution center. We have several of our employees here today. Some of our almost 3,200 employees in the state of Louisiana, something we're very proud of. They're so much the backbone of the community, and I will tell you from a personal note, when I got a chance to visit with some of them this morning, if you look at some of their name tags, you'll see the years of service that they have, and you see people with 25 years, 15 years, 10 years. There are so many people that are such a part of this community. We do have Jordan with just the 5-year pin. He's been with us for 7. He said, well, you know, I'm 26. I'm like, well, if you were here any longer, we'd be violating child labor laws. But everybody's proud to be here. Everybody's proud to be part of Louisiana. Everybody is proud of this company and what we've done, and we are just merely asking to restore this language to ensure the economic model that we built this upon, that we are working with, continues.
Mr. Chairman, we also have Mr. Jason Redmond with McGlinchey Stafford here. I don't know if, oh, excuse me, Bodie, I didn't see it. Also have Bodie White here. Yo, look-alike, I guess. So, Bodie White.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. And I've looked at the archive video, and I don't think the members of this committee would have, on purposely, put up an amendment that has a deficit, a very negative, I'll put it that way, effect on Winn-Dixie. They did have a hard time. They went through Chapter 11. But in my community, they've been there for almost 40 years. And they've remodeled it, they've updated the stores, and they provide a vital service to the folks in my community. And the distribution center is right in the middle of mine, Senator Donahue's, Senator Erdy, district. We kind of all meet right there. It's a great location at the corner of I-12 and I-55 to distribute all over the state of Louisiana and the South, really. And as you heard, we beat Alabama in one thing. They chose to stay with us and not Alabama. So anyway, I would ask for your favorable consideration on this bill, and it affects many senators and many representatives in the North Shore employees that work there. And as you heard him state, they're not a small entity. In Louisiana, they have 3,200 employees. Thank you. I'll wait till closing.
All right, thank you, Senator White. We
If I
do.
could expand on those comments, just one small piece. That Hammond Distribution Center distributes our grocery products not only in Louisiana, but in Mississippi and Alabama and actually parts of Florida. So we have Hammond and we have Jacksonville, and to grow there to the middle is really the goal. And when you are distributing over $500 million worth of product through Hammond, Louisiana, the economic impact, not just for us, but for the entire state, is incalculable.
Thank you.
I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if Mr. Redmond, who I thought was sitting here for a moment, is not here.
He's waving in the back that he's good.
All right, so
we do it. We have
questions.
cards from Ronnie Johnson and from Winn-Dixie, and also Mary Patricia Wary for in favor. We do have some questions. Y'all ready for some questions, gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
Senator Tarver.
He mentioned a second ago, were you in Chapter 11 or 7 or 9? Which one?
We were in Chapter 11, sir. It was a 65-day restructuring.
Prepackaged.
It was a totally prepackaged, no, not even a debtor in possession financing. Went in, I believe it's a record for a company of our size, over $8 billion, to come in and out in that short a period of time.
When they do it every day in America now, in bankruptcy.
65 days?
Yes. A lot of companies doing it in 65 days and less. Okay, but let me ask you this: how many other companies have this advantage in Louisiana, like Kroger's, like Brookshire's? Do they have the same advantage? They want the same identical thing that you're asking for?
Do they have it? No, sir.
I don't believe anybody else has it, Senator, and Winn-Dixie has had
So
it
we're the
since
only ones. We're the only ones.
Winn-Dixie has had it since 1961. So they've had it for
The Brookshire's don't have it.
7 years.
Kroger's don't have it. Walmart don't have it either. But
none-
they asking for the exception, right?
None to my knowledge. We're asking for the recession to be restored.
I don't think any of them have a major distribution center, and that was part
Well,
of the
Walmart
reason.
have a major one.
Well,
They have a large, much larger than theirs in Louisiana. So why should we give you this exception back? You out of bankruptcy. You're doing good business now. Why should we give it to you back?
Well, Senator, they created their business model based in 1961 on having this facility. I don't know when they built the facility, but they built the facility with that exception. They may have built the facility in Alabama had they not had that exception.
My good friend, I would like for the lawyer to answer that. From
I'm
Winn-Dixie.
trying to
From
keep that
Winn-Dixie.
from happening.
Why should we give you something that we don't give nobody else?
The simple fact is we've had that since 1961. It's part of our business.
So the reason why we should give it to you because since you had it since 1961? Is that a good reason?
We've had that since 1961. It's part of our business model. It's part of how we chose to go forward. If we want to have a debate on whether we should have it or not, a fair opportunity to have that debate.
Well, we having that debate.
A fair opportunity to have that debate should have been afforded us at the time, and we could have based our business model on that. We frankly need an opportunity. If we want to have that debate, we should have that debate next year so that everybody has time to be prepared for it. Unfortunately, what we've done here is taken an insufficient amount of facts, taken action, and affected a business model of a company that has been loyal and strong in Louisiana.
But it's a lot
for
of
more
companies
than
been loyal and strong in the type of business you're in, and we don't give them the exception.
But you also haven't taken away part of their business model last year, have you?
Well, we have taken away a lot of business models, more than likely. But you know,
Not through this action, sir.
not through. I agree with you because they didn't have it. You don't want to have this, had this exception. I wonder why y'all had this exception at first. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Tarver. Senator Johns.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Grimm, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I guess you're aware that it was my amendment last year that started this.
Yes, sir, I am.
I want to just say a few things. First of all, I want to just tell you how lucky you are to have those two senators sitting at the table with you this morning. Nobody has more integrity in this process than the two of them, and so you're very fortunate to have them. I said no more, Senator Tarver.
I've
Maybe
appreciated
equal.
working with them, and they have been wonderful supporters of ours, and I truly thank them.
But I will tell you up front that I'm going to support the bill. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Not that I believe in what you're trying to do is correct, but I'm going to support the bill because it probably, in all fairness to you, deserves some debate in the future. And I'm going to go on record to tell you that if a bill comes to this committee next year to do away with that privilege that you have, I'm going to support it. Back in my district, I've got Kroger's, I've got Albertsons, I've got Rouse's, I've got Market Baskets, I've got Brookshire Brothers. None of them have those privileges. And I understand you've had it for some years. I think there's some question as to how long it's been there, as I've been told. But I do want to tell you this. The way that this bill has been lobbied over the past few days is despicable. Yes, sir. Some of the things that have been said, not from the author of the bill, he and I have had a wonderful conversation about it, but other people who are involved in this bill have said things, have sent out emails, have lobbied this bill that has no way in this process. So I would suggest to you to go back to the people that you have hired to lobby this bill, to have some real candid discussions with them.
Sir, I will commit
This-
to you that I will have those conversations.
I
will
came here
review
with I
fully.
came here in '96 with my name. I'll leave here at whatever time my constituents ask me to leave with my name. And I don't appreciate what's been said out in the halls of this Capitol, that's been put out in emails. I would strongly suggest to you that you have those conversations with people that you have employed.
I will commit to you that I will ask for copies of all emails. I have not seen any emails that I think you're referring to, but I commit to you that I will ask for copies of every one of them, and I will make a special trip back to sit down with the gentleman and review the entire process and have that discussion with them. I appreciate your candor, sir.
Again, I just don't agree that your company having this one exception is fair to everyone else that does business in this state. What percentage of your business is actually affected by, I don't know what your gross sales are, if you're distributing in that many stores, that many locales, it's got to be in the multi millions of dollars of actual sales that you're doing. But what percentage of your business is actually affected by this?
Honestly, sir, I'm not prepared to answer that question
1%,
right
2,
now.
2%?
You know, we have 550 stores. We have 29 of those here in Louisiana. I would have to go back and look at that. I did not get that granular with the numbers.
Okay.
But I promise you, when we have this debate next year, which it sounds like we will, I will be prepared with that, and I will come to you personally and ask you what questions you would like for me to answer.
I'd actually
in
like that.
preparation.
I'd like that information between now and the floor, actually. But how big a part of this business, of this issue, is part of your business?
I can't answer that question. I think we do about 12. I truly don't want to misstate. I think we do about $12 million worth of alcohol sales in our retail stores in Louisiana. I can't tell you exactly what percentage that is of the overall.
Okay.
Had I had that question before, I would have been more than happy to come with that information.
Okay. And I just, last, I want to say my comments are not aimed at you personally, okay?
Yes or no, I fully understand that, but I also understand I have a responsibility to look into that to make sure that the people representing us are doing things in a manner that make us proud, make you proud, make these associates proud that are sitting behind me, and show the state of Louisiana that we want to do business here and we appreciate everything that you guys do for us. So I take on that responsibility and I will handle that for
The
you,
issue
sir.
may have been misunderstood, but no one lied. And that's what the point I'm trying to make. So
I have not seen that kind of language. I've never asserted that myself.
sir, I know you haven't, and I respect you greatly. I've shopped in your stores until you sold
If
the
you-
one
if
in
you-
Orange Beach, Alabama, to Rouse's. I used to shop there, so
Well, we're doing the best we can to get you another store somewhere soon.
okay.
If I might add to
Thank you.
what was said, I think Senator Tarver, along the lines of what you, I just don't think it's fair to take Winn-Dixie's ability to be able to distribute out of the store in Hammond. The discussion about why should they have a exemption other people don't have, I think that's a legitimate discussion too. And perhaps we should have that discussion, but let's not destroy the model that these people are working at they lose it in August. Let's just not destroy it because it's going to change the way they do business in the state of Louisiana. And if we wanted to have that conversation, let's have it. And then the results will have to be what the results are, but let's not change that model.
And Senator, I agree with you, so.
And Senator Johns, I didn't have anything to do with any information being distributed.
No, sir.
But I understand
Senator,
what you're saying.
I know that. I know you're bigger than that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Johns. We do have another card in support from Cindy Bishop. Senator Chabert.
Thank you. From all the information that I got is that this kind of went down with the previous administration, that the exemption was removed by Commissioner Hebert some years ago, and the actions that we kind of took recently would just really clean up and more or less more specific to y'all. But that's not really where I'm going with this. I'm gonna address Senator White, Senator Donahue, because
I'm
like
sitting here, though.
like Senator Morrell and myself, you getting put out to pasture next year with the term limits. And if you're
I get to come back,
you
maybe.
get to come back, if you blessed and lucky, or equally blessed and cursed, should we look at this for other distribution centers like Rouse's in the future? I'm gonna ask you to think about that, where business models are going to be built very similar to that. Rouse is a homegrown company from my area. Not the headquarters isn't in my district, but they're relocating their headquarters from Lafourche to Terrebonne, and they plan on doing a big old distribution center for their ever expanding operations. I mean, should they be granted this exception?
Well, I think it's something that you look at case by case and how much business they're going to do, and as they have moved on into other states, are they going to distribute to other states, and what's the impact to the state of Louisiana, and more particularly, what's the impact to your district?
Yeah. Well,
And I think, and if we go down that path and we do that, then I think if we're going to take it away, and I don't think Ronnie Johns had any intentions of having a big effect on Winn-Dixie. And I don't know that whoever asked you to do the amendment did. But, I mean, it happened, and it's just part of it, and we do things here in this body. And Senator Peters was the only one that asked a question. I've looked at the archives several times, and I know that they're particularly, I've read some of the things, and they particularly give back and participate with some of the nonprofits in Orleans Parish. And maybe, I don't know why she asked the question, but she asked the question. So, you know, there's a lot of things that, I served on judiciary for 8 years, and we dealt with a lot of distribution and liquor and wine and stuff when I was in the House. But I haven't dealt with it in 8 years now. So, but I think as it goes, but you know, because you had restaurants, there's a small profit margin.
No doubt.
It's very small, that profit margin. And you cut out 2, 3, 4% of a profit margin when it's very competitive. Sometimes that has a devastating effect on employees and how you run your business. And if we're going to take it, I think we should have had a big debate about it.
And that, I guess that's kind of where I'm going with my questioning. So you're going to have other companies that, in the perpetuity, are going to be pointing at this and saying you are giving Winn-Dixie a competitive advantage against us in that very small margin.
Well, and I wasn't here when that was given. I don't know that it was just put on an amendment. I suspect it was debated. I suspect it was talked about a lot. Mm-hmm. And what they were going to bring to the state and how they were committed to build their business model. So,
And even though I'm not going to be here, I have something to say. You know, I wouldn't grant those other stores the same right that Winn-Dixie has, because you changed the business model in the state of Louisiana. And those distributors count on receiving those goods and delivering them to retailers to sell. And if we change that model, all of a sudden we're going to have all those people say, why are you changing our business model? So there is a conversation that needs to take place. And all those portions and pieces need to be part of it. But, you know, I wouldn't say, let's take that away let's take it away and give Rouse's the ability to do that, because it's going to hurt too many people. All I'm saying right now is, let's put Winn-Dixie back where they were, because we're getting ready to cause them a problem, and they have their store built on this model. Let's put them back where they're supposed to be, and then you can have the debate.
What sounds like the debate's going to be had next term.
Could be.
You know, that's the unfortunate aspect of this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chabot. Senator Morrell.
Thank you. I'm going to try and stay on point. First, I want to say, you're saying two gentlemen that I hold extremely high esteem for. So my comments, I want you to like cover your ears, because I don't want you to be negatively impacted by the blast radius of what I'm about to say. So I'm just putting that out there, because I love you, Bodie. I love you. There you go.
I'm a pretty good guy too, though. I just want to throw that out there.
Let's talk about. So I appreciate your comments regarding words matter, and that things said at that table have repercussions. Has Winn-Dixie had this ability to buy alcohol since 1961?
That is my understanding, yes. That is the status of the law.
Explain to me what Francis Thompson's bill did in 2001.
I'm sorry?
Francis Thompson had a bill in 2001 which granted y'all the ability to purchase alcohol and grandfathered you in based upon the fact you have the ability to directly purchase merchandise since 1961. So since words matter, your representation today is that you've had the ability to purchase alcohol since 1961, and I'm telling you that is materially incorrect. You've had the ability to purchase alcohol since 2001, where Francis Thompson passed a bill allowing you to do so. The language in said bill referenced the fact that y'all could purchase distribution centers since 1961, which for members is the carve-out. The carve-out is the definition of who's able to have the license, but the ability to purchase it was actually since 2001, so I was not here. I believe Representative Bodie White was here at that time. So, Bodie, you were here and it was probably debated. The point I'm making before you...
2004, Senator.
Oh, you were here. Karen was here. All right. The point I'm making is that while we sit here and quibble, about what's said at that table and things being said incorrectly, let's highlight today, while debating this bill, something was materially represented incorrectly. I'm not calling you a liar, because obviously you probably didn't know that. But the point I want to make is, and I have a lot more umbrage than Mr. Johns, because he has a lot more patience. He's a better Christian than me. And so I'm just going to put that out there. But the reality is, just yesterday, I was subjected to people representing your company calling people liars, yelling that they were liars. That's for you to solve because those are your employees. But the reality is this. As someone who's leaving this building, and as Norby said, Norby and I are riding into the sunset. I don't know where, but we're going into the sunset. What I do not like is the toxic rhetoric that is beginning to plague this process. And when misinformation is put out to make villains of individuals like Representative Johns and Mr. Dwight, who was also in the blast radius of the smear campaign about being called liars, for a business to get its way, I don't believe in rewarding bad behavior. And what happens is that if you're able to smear fellow legislators and you're successful, what other businesses will see is, man, so you're saying if I go and say awful things about legislators to get my way, that works. You know what happens then? Then you have more misinformation. You have more toxic rhetoric. It's bad enough up here as is. We don't need to incentivize people to do it. But the point I want to make to you is today, just now, just like whoever was at the table previously, they represent the facts to the best of their ability because on the back of that witness card is an oath. So no one comes up here intending to present misinformation, but that sword cuts both ways because you signed an oath card just now. You said a statement which, as I illustrated, is materially incorrect. But am I up here calling you a liar? No, I'm saying you're mistaken. And that's the difference. The difference is that I don't challenge your credibility. I'm not going to go send a bunch of emails to people about how Winn-Dixie is a bunch of liars. I'm not going to do any of that because I think when you come to the table, you seem like an honest, earnest man. I'll take you at your word that were not aware of the fact of the discrepancy that this special exception for Winn-Dixie has existed since 2001, not 1961. And I'm sure my two colleagues sitting there didn't know it since 2001, not since 1961, because y'all weren't told it was since 2001. But I'm not up here calling anybody a liar because they're not liars. They were testifying based on the information in front of them. So I don't know if I can support this bill without amendments because I was raised to not reward bad behavior, and there's been a tremendous amount of bad behavior involved in lobbying this bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Senator Morrell. Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you for the opportunity. Thanks for bringing the bill, and I thank you for the opportunity to meet Sandy and visit. I didn't realize that I'd asked a question, and so what was my question again?
You asked who it would affect.
Oh, who would it? Okay, that was a pretty basic question because it was an amendment being offered to a bill that we'd previously not debated the issue, and so the answer to that question was?
The answer to that question was, and I won't actually quote, I will paraphrase.
Just paraphrase, yeah. I mean, I don't even remember it, so hey.
It affects Southeastern Grocers. That time thought to be a subsidiary of Winn-Dixie. It's actually the other way around.
Okay.
Winn-Dixie is a subsidiary of Southeastern Grocers.
Was Winn-Dixie named?
Winn-Dixie was named. Just said, it's Winn-Dixie, and they're in bankruptcy, so.
And they won't be using it, is what I'm told?
No, the quote truly ends at, they're in bankruptcy, so, and then.
Inferences can be drawn. Right, because
it's potential, but if I might address this, I have not said anybody lied in this process. As a matter of fact, what I said at the beginning, at the outset of this discussion, was there are so many retail bankruptcies. I believe that this committee thought we were closing up shop because Toys R Us was closing up shop. There were so many going on.
Well, let me just say that if I heard that today, I probably would have inferred that there was no need for the exception if an amendment was being brought, and that was just last year? Just last year,
and
yes, ma'am. If I heard it, just 12 months later or so, I probably would have inferred that it wasn't needed, and it was quick, and I don't think that there was a huge debate. I think I was the only one.
It was less than 60 seconds.
Exactly. So here's the thing. I certainly respect Senator Morrell's position and also Senator Johns and Senator Chabert's, which is talking about the issue, the real substance, not process, but substance, right?
Yes,
like,
ma'am.
I think the process was terrible. I don't think that that amendment should have been brought in that way and presented to this committee that way. I think we all feel like we didn't have full information as that amendment was being presented. Water under the bridge, here you are. The substance of it is worthy of a debate, and I'm not sure that we have to wait, quite frankly, until next year. I do want to address your issue, but I do think that there are competitors, and to have you were grandfathered in, right? And to have other competitors not have the advantage that you have may not be fair. That may not be fair. If, in fact, they're going to build the distribution centers, right? If a Rouse's, I don't care what company it is, Kroger, Rouse's, whomever, if it's about jobs and economic development in Louisiana, Winn-Dixie shouldn't have an advantage to creating jobs and economic development. That's what we do when we do tax incentives and rebates and credits. Why shouldn't we do it with this bill? You were wrongly treated last year, and I think we should fix that, but that does not prohibit us from fixing and equalizing the field. Do you disagree with that?
I'm not sure what that means.
Okay, let me tell you what it means. It means that I'm going to fix your problem. I'm willing to vote and fix your problem, but I'm also willing to entertain other companies that want to do exactly what you're doing so that you're not alone in creating good opportunities. So would the authors have a problem with the instrument being used in that way at any point?
Well,
And I would love for you to be honest, because this is about taking care of Winn-Dixie, protecting the jobs and the business model that was created based on what you thought you were dealing with. But why shouldn't Rouse's and Kroger's? And it doesn't matter. I hope that you're okay with it, but I'd like to know, generally speaking.
well, let me say this, Senator. I personally don't have a problem with it,
Okay.
but I think that there are some people in this room who would, and those are the people who are the large warehouse distributors to retail stores. And it was kind of what I was mentioning before, though I agreed with a lot what you said. It's we are changing. When we did that to Winn-Dixie, whether they should have it, they shouldn't have it. We didn't give it to them, but they got it. Mm-hmm. Whether they should have it, they shouldn't have it. When we take it away from them, we change the business model. So should everybody have that advantage? I don't think Winn-Dixie ought to have a competitive advantage over anybody else unless they're just smarter than everybody else.
I don't think so.
So should we give everybody that right? When you do that, you're taking a whole lot of distribution and warehousing away from the people who do it now and distribute. I guess they distribute for Rouse's and all the other people. And I think as a legislature, it'd be a good discussion to have. But if we did that in this piece of legislation, it would be very impactful for a lot of people and change what I was trying to do, which was put Winn-Dixie back where they are.
Right.
Okay. I understand.
And as I've seen you and Senator Morrell and all of us, we get an issue in our district and we try to deal with it as best we can.
No, I got you.
You know? And I can't say that it wouldn't be fair, but just what Senator said, it's going to affect a lot of people in all of our districts.
Look, it wasn't hard for me. The way that this happened, like I said, there's process and then there's the substance of the legislation.
Right.
The process was terrible. It's not how we should conduct business. That is why I'm for the bill, right? A separate issue is the equalizing the playing field and not having Winn-Dixie there's no need to have to wait a year to have a debate we know needs to happen. We're here. We have an instrument. Right? Like, what are we kicking the can down the road for?
But I don't know who it affects. To be honest,
You do know.
I don't know all the distributors.
Okay, well, you're bringing the bill. I mean, you should know who.
No. Senator Donahue is bringing it. I'm just here because I
It's in your
represent
district.
part of it.
I got you.
know?
Okay. Well, I kind of know. There's a lot of people that are affected. They know, they're in the audience. They're listening to us right now. They're worried because it's going to impact somebody else's business model if we do that, right?
Right.
And so, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to make those points, and I thank you for answering the questions.
And I think that you're
Thanks,
right
Senator
about what
Peterson.
you say.
I can't disagree with you. I just don't know all the facts.
No problem.
Senator Torver.
I might bring an amendment later after I hear the opposition, but I hear about the amendment came up all of a sudden. Every bill in the legislature changes things, and amendments changes things all the time and affect people. That's part of the political process. That's part of the legislative process. And it happens all the time. if someone sneaked in an amendment and got away with it, it happens all the time in the legislature. It affects all the people in Louisiana, and some of the people in Louisiana, some of the people in businesses. We do it all the time. So it's no stranger about the legislative process. Anything can pop up, a bill, and a member change any bill.
I can't disagree with you, Senator, but just like talking to Senator Peterson, this one affected a major corporation in our district, and we're just like you would be doing. We're trying to fix it, put it back on level playing ground, and not affect anybody else's. Some amendments obviously going to affect a lot of people.
Oh, yes.
So I can't say you're wrong, but it happens, and sometimes we have to go back and fix it.
But generally, when we do that, we give people a chance to defend themselves. They
Yeah.
weren't here to defend themselves.
A lot of times people are not up here in the legislature
I don't
to
think that's
defend
right,
themselves.
Senator.
A lot of people can't
I
defend
try
themselves.
not to do that in my position as a
I know
senator.
it. But you might be the only one.
Well, then, I'm on my way out, so there you go.
I'll try to carry it on, Senator.
But only reason I'm thinking about an amendment in this process is because of you, Bo, to be honest with you, because I'm against this bill. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I know, you tell me that.
But I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna wait until listen to the opposition and then make a decision.
And they're getting ready to come up.
Okay.
Thanks, Senator Torben. Thank you, gentlemen. We have some cards in opposition. John Williams from the Beer Industry League, who's indicated, I believe you want to speak. So if you want to come on up. Mark Chinook, I believe it is, with Benno Liquor, who's in opposition, will provide information if requested. And Ryan Haney with Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits. You were the only one that
Oh, wanted to speak? Okay.
you get the whole table.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. John Williams with the Beer Industry League of Louisiana. I'd like to just start by just making a few comments about some of the things that have been said about being very misleading and the comments that were at the table. I thought we were very clear that this is an amendment that was applying specifically, strictly to one corporation, and that they were in bankruptcy. There was no intent ever to mislead anyone about our information, so I just want to put that out there, and I appreciate the comments that were said earlier. There's also been comments saying that this impacts the wholesalers in the state of Louisiana, and actually this was an effort to support and the independent retailers in Louisiana to provide a level playing field. You see, the wine and spirits that's purchased by Winn Dixie at this warehouse is actually purchased from wholesalers in the state of Louisiana. So they're not circumventing the three-tier system or anything that any other retailers may not have the ability to do, other than the fact that in Louisiana we allow volume discounts for wine and spirits, so their purchasing power is greater, and there's a competitive advantage with respect to the amount of alcohol, a volume that they can purchase at one given time. Another comment is, as I'm told, that the $550 million in merchandise that they move out of the center here in Hammond annually, about 0.6% of that merchandise is beverage alcohol. They may distribute products to other states, but obviously not alcohol. They don't have the permission to do that. No one does. Another comment I'd like to make is that the bill that was passed last year took effect in August of 2018. So the commissioner was gracious in working with Winn-Dixie and granting them the right to operate all the way through 2019 because they had a permit, one of the 2-year permits that Commissioner Hebert, a former commissioner at ATC, was granted to certain businesses. And the last thing I'd like to say is, we always want a level playing field. We're always looking to make sure that industry members have just as much opportunity to be successful in their business. And we're experiencing a lot of change in our industry, not just at the supplier level, but the wholesale level and also the retail level with technologies and things like that. As you guys have heard, many of the discussions that we're going to be faced with this year on dealing with alcohol delivery. But I'd like to point out that just today on a publication in Washington, D.C., the headline was that Amazon has hired an alcohol lobbyist. So we know the platforms that they're looking at distribution centers directly to consumers. And now that they're a retailer here in Louisiana with the purchase of Whole Foods, we're expecting a number of challenges. This is part of what we try to do to make sure that the laws are not just beneficial for one, but they're providing opportunity for all. And they're going to be coming into Louisiana, and they're going to be trying to get competitive advantages because they're Amazon. You know, that's what they look for. They look for corporate welfare, however you want to say it. They're going to look for opportunities to be more, that benefit them more than others. I will leave that as my statement, and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I see no questions. Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
Senator Donahue. Senator White. If you have an amendment, Senator Donahue and Senator White are getting ready to close. So if you have something,
You got to offer them now.
I'm offering them.
Senator Tarver.
Offer an amendment to sunset in 2 years.
So that means that you have to get this problem straightened out within 2 years. It's probably
Staff's passing out an amendment. Members, Amendment 878, offered up by Senator Tarver. Senator Tarver, would you? It's pretty to the point. That's what it is.
Sunset in 2 years. I know they put it in a business model, and I understand that. I understand exactly what's been said here. But, the reason it's 2 years in there is because of your business model, basically. I understand. But after that, really no one ought to get this type of exception. Unless we give it to everybody. And if Amazon get in it, it's going to be a real problem.
Yeah, we don't have a problem with it. But I think that gives us an opportunity to be able to look at this whole thing, and I think 2 years is.
I'd like to thank Senator Tarver for his amendment and his candor in this. If I got to choose, I'd like for it to be 3, but I don't think I get to choose.
How about 1?
Well, that's where I thought you'd go if I asked, so I thought I'd just stick with the 2. And I would look forward to having this conversation, both with the Beer Industry League, with all of you, and make some decisions on this next year. But I truly appreciate the Senator's amendment and his candor, and I think we would support that.
And I appreciate it too, and I had that negotiation for you from 1 to 2 to give us a little breathing room here to see how we're going to go forward, because I know Rouse's is very important to the state. It's a homegrown business that started here, as far as I know. I've never seen anyone till they grew so much in another state, so I know they're from South Louisiana. And I'm a little scared of what it'll do to the business models when the Amazon gets in it too. So.
All right, so members, we have an amendment in front of us offered up by Senator Tarver, Amendment 878. Do we have any further discussion? Do we have any objection? Hearing none, that will be adopted. All right, Ms. Donahue, would you like to close?
I think we had some really good discussions, and I think.
Let me ask you, is that all the amendments? Somebody said something about 2 members? All right,
All right.
thank you.
I think we had some good discussions about a problem that exists, and I don't disagree with it. I'm sorry that the rhetoric got the way the rhetoric got. We didn't have anything to do with the way the rhetoric was. When Dixie came and talked to me about that, I think Senator White and I spoke. They're in our district. We don't want to see our district hurt. We looked into research of what had happened, figured that the committee didn't have all the facts, and when presented all the facts, they would correct that, what we considered to be a decision that shouldn't be in place. So we presented the bill. The bill is, gives Winn-Dixie, with the amendment, gives Winn-Dixie an opportunity and for future legislators to evaluate where this situation needs to be as far as how these wine and alcohol is distributed. There are a lot of people moving into the state, and probably a lot of people, if they could take advantage of warehousing alcohol, would. I think it has a big effect on our business model, and I won't be part of that discussions, but I'm sure you all will be. So I appreciate all the conversation from this committee, and I appreciate your support of the bill as amended.
Thank you, Senator Donahue. All right, members, Vice Chairman Johns has moved that we report Senate Bill 176 with amendments. Do we have any discussion? Do we have any objection? Hear none, that'll be reported
Thank
with
you,
amendments.
Thank you, members. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.